the reality is, from an economic standpoint, just doing the cool stuff you want to do, that's not economically viable. And it's a very simple concept to understand. While they want to do just crazy stuff, they have to make watches that the retailers are going to buy. So the retailers are like, I could sell this size, this price, this material. Can you make me something? And they're like, okay, so in order to get the retailers to buy the crazy stuff we like, we need to make things that they feel they can sell more immediately. It turns into a compromise with the brands, and they sell what the market wants, and then they try to push in something cool and new and artistic and interesting as often as they can.
Greetings and welcome to this week's aBlogtoWatch Weekly. We're going to be a little bit quiet because David's 1 degree under. What we call in this country, David is in his bed of sickness. He's not very well, and being in a bed of sickness just makes it sound so much worse.
I know. I thought it was going to be like cute and charming. I was like, bed of sick. It's like, geez.
Whereas Ariel wishes he was in his bed because he's been up for 40 hours straight in Utah. I'm not sure whether that's because he's on missionary work. I don't know how it works. Is Utah
No,
not,
the missionary workers
are?
Leave Utah.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Because that guy's in the shirts and the jackets and stuff.
Well, I'm just saying the whole point is to leave if you're...
Leave Utah.
They come from Utah and are sent out on the mission.
David, how are you?
I've been better, but I will manage.
Good. You're sounding awful husky. That's good. The ladies that listen don't like that. Husky David. Husky
That's
slightly
good.
Ill David.
My accent with a husky voice.
Very small number of audience members that are ladies.
Listen, I think we do not too
given
too
the
badly.
standard, compared to our articles on aBlogtoWatch.com, you're probably right. This has probably percentage-wise much more of a female audience.
Yeah. So anyway, shout out to all the ladies. Do
Shout
send
out.
us in a message. Let us know.
David's accepting get well better cards.
Yeah, David's
Yes.
accepting get well soon cards. What? Let's just get it out of the way at the beginning. David, what's your Instagram account?
It's aBTW_David. Why? Oh yeah, just sort of get better cards. Yes.
So slip into David's DMs
Yes.
there if the extra huskiness is particularly appealing to you this morning as you're listening to this.
David, is there a
my
particular
goodness.
type of dessert that allows you to get better soon? A baked dish, maybe a get well soon pastry, an invigorating sugary custard.
Yeah, frozen, please.
Frozen custard. Okay.
Well, what are the puddings of choice in Hungary? Is there a national pudding?
It's funny because there was one when Aria was here. We still sometimes recall this face when we mentioned that what we were serving him was bird milk, because there is a dessert that's called that, and I can tell you that it's not made from that. It's very delicious. I guess that's one of those things. Doesn't sound too good though, and I'm not sure why it's called that. Yeah, there's a bunch that I can't think of right now, and I especially will not know their names in English. I can tell you that.
Okay,
much.
that's good. In Scotland, it's what's called a clooty dumpling. I don't know if that rings any bells. Just to make it extra dangerous, and deadly to all things dentistry, because
There are nails in it.
Yeah, well, actually, basically, you put coins in it, and you eat your pudding, and that is part of the reason why the British have such bad teeth, because we're eating puddings nice and chewy, and then you come across a solid steel or copper coin. And break
Wait,
your
what?
teeth on
Why?
it.
This is not culinary thing.
I don't know. It's just, I think we're just obsessed with money as we are with fat food. So it's the combination of both of those things in the Scottish clooty dumpling.
It reminds me. I think it was something from the Netherlands, and it was like a bake thing, and inside of it was like a tile. It was like your lucky tile, but it was a tile. Like if you would have bit it into that tile, you would have lost a tooth. And I was like, thanks for the prize, but nothing in the packaging been like, don't bite into this.
So what are the dangerous culinary foods in the United States?
We're so litigious. All it is stuff that you can't be sued. Like, it's bad for you. Like, nothing will kill you right away. It takes years. There's all this deniability they build in. So we have like horrible factory food, which I think like 80% of what we make is probably horrible for you. But like it won't choke you to death, really.
Yeah, you're not going to crack your teeth over it.
Yeah.
I mean, American chocolate, just no. I don't know what
It's
American
mostly
chocolate and
wax,
American
maybe.
crisp.
I'm not really sure what it's made out of.
Yeah, how can such a rich country.
Sugar. You
Clever
put enough
country.
sugar in anything and you make it look like the thing it's supposed to be. A lot of great marketing, nice packaging, people will buy it. This is the
Why
American
not just
way.
make it the thing it's supposed to be? Like, make a crisp like a crisp.
Do you not understand
Make some
factory
chocolate
farming?
like
You have to
chocolate.
industrially create it. Package it, transport it. It has to last a long time. Warehouse it. Profit margins, my friend.
Okay, right. So, compare and contrast the American food and beverage industry to the Swiss watch industry then, Ariel, so we can get slightly back on topic.
Are we about to have like a dissertation into Nestle? That could be a whole conversation unto itself.
Are there similarities then the mass production industrialization of watchmaking versus the mass production industrialization of chocolate making in the United States?
There's two interesting,
Producing
unique
an
things.
inferior product.
No, they have something interesting in common. Most people that work at facilities doing something industrial do not get to enjoy the fruit of their labor. But in watchmaking and in a confectionery making or food making, the worker gets to ostensibly enjoy and be proud of the thing they make. A little bit easier with food, but ultimately maybe there's a little bit more long-lasting pride and less health detriment to the watches. But it's very rare that workers can actually interact with the thing that they're making in their regular lives.
David, have you ever interacted with something you've sold?
Interacting with something I sold? No. But I'm an expert on high fructose corn syrup, so we can talk about that.
High fructose. Oh, right. So, like, is that Coca-Cola?
Yeah, and technically everything. Ketchup, whatever else you can think of that's in America.
No, some people out of America get the good stuff with like cane sugar, which is not that much better, but certainly better than high fructose corn syrup.
There will be a number of our listeners who listen from this particular country who will know that the people that make the best tomato ketchup in the world are the Swedes. So there you go. There's Volvos, trucks, cars.
The Swedes?
Also make,
I didn't know
yeah,
that.
IKEA, they also make the best tomato ketchup in the world in Sweden. So if you're ever in Sweden, avoid the IKEAs or buy the meatballs and the dime bars or whatever, but also get some tomato ketchup. So there you go. From the comments, trends come and go, but watch lovers are forever. An article by Jake, Monday's featured article. This is basically about the things that annoy us in watchmaking or that get or go. Ariel, what's the one trend that needs to die in watchmaking?
Wow, on the spot like that?
Yeah, I know you're tired, but so I'm going for the thing that will wake you up the most.
I guess one of the things is I need to stop hearing, I guess because we talk about George Orwell a lot, doublespeak. I'm sick of brands being like, this is innovative. And everyone's like, no. And they're like, no, it's innovative. Trust us. Like brands need to start having some accountability for the things that they say. And we have people in the industry like Jose Perez who does his darndest to keep brands honest.
And some watch media organizations.
But no, he began really trying to just keep the brands he loved honest. I think you can make just as much money being honest in this industry as saying something is innovative when it's not. Use better words. Hire a marketer that speaks the language you want to market in. That would be a good idea. And just get rid of the doublespeak. No one appreciates it. So there, I'm done.
I'm done it off to bed. David, the watch trend that needs to die.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I think I summarized, I went on a rant in one of my grinding gears articles where I said, here's why the in-house movement's craze was and is stupid. It is stupid for all kinds of elaborate reasons. I don't know how many thousands of words long that article is, at least 2,000. And yet people came at me in the comments for some reason, like, oh, but Kenny is owned by... And I'm like, oh my goodness, like there's so much. Basically, the whole article is this one claim, which is to say that it is stupid. And then the rest of the 1,950 words is fine print to say why that is, because of course there are exceptions and whatnot. So if there's one trend, then it's rebranded supplied movements there.
Yeah, giving something a fancy number rather than just admitting that it's a Solita or an ETA XXXX.
When I'm more awake, we'll have to talk about this topic because I have a lot to say about
it. Okay, go and drink some coffee and come back to us in a few minutes. We don't normally talk about other watch media outlets, but it's worth... I'm not sure the best way to say this. Go and read... Go and check out Jose Perez's articles and then go and hunt out the certain video from a certain media organisation that he's talking about, and you'll see a little bit of an illustration about what Ariel's been talking about the way that everybody relates to each other and just researching stuff. So there you go. That's a wee Easter egg without saying too much. Go and have a research on he's been on a couple of times, Jose's investigation into certain famous people and their watches. There we go. Cool. Well, go and check out the article. A lot of what's being said in the comments, it seems to be quite focused around MoonSwatch, as to whether MoonSwatch has overall been a good thing or a bad thing. I suppose we can now reflect on it. We're a bit of a distance from when the original hype train departed. What do you think? Do you think that MoonSwatch has had an impact in the non-geek watch collecting community that has brought some new geeks into the community? Obviously, lots of people were collecting them that wouldn't have traditionally collected watches. Has it actually moved the dial on the hobby?
Well, a lot more people have the Speedmaster design on their wrist because they have the Swatch version of it, which is vastly more affordable than the $5,000 plus entry level Omega Speedmaster in steel. So yes, I've seen out a bunch of people, but those same people would not be wearing the more expensive thing. So they definitely open up a new market and hopefully popularize the Speedmaster. Look, I think Omega's fundamental goal was to make more people buy Speedmasters when they're at a point in their life when they can afford it. And I think that that's really what they're trying to see. They're like, is this going to make future Omega wearers? And so the whole needing to keep this trend going and keep it amazing and all that, they're like, we came out with our colors. Maybe we'll do more a little bit in the future, but we're happy with this. We don't have no idea what you guys want from us. The whole point is go buy Omega watches and, then go buy some other Swatch watches. Stop asking for more of this. So I'm a little perplexed why people have this endless fascination for this topic. I mean, it is a Swatch watch that's way more expensive than most Swatch watches that looks like, an Omega watch, which you go enjoy. Do people think this is a new category of timepiece or something? What's all the fuss?
I've got the Mission to Mars, the white and red MoonSwatch, and I'm still wearing it. I've been wearing it for several weeks in a row. It really does not make me want to either buy a new Swatch watch or buy a real Omega Speedmaster. So I'm not but I enjoy wearing this. But
you were never the targeted demographic. I mean, look at the way that they sold it. Look at the way that they got it out there. If they wanted people like you to buy this, they would just made it available online, and they would have done some little limited batches. But they specifically went after mainstream. They wanted media. They wanted social media. They wanted regular people. They specifically did not make any type of real big splash with the watch media. They didn't take out ads for this. That was really never their goal. I think that they felt that watch lovers didn't really want to buy a Swatch to begin with unless it was seriously cool. So they sort of were experiment. I wonder who will buy it. And they were just hoping the mainstream would think it was a cool collaboration thing,
David, you wore a MoonSwatch when they were fresh, and at Watches and Wonders got a lot of attention. Have you ever put it back on again?
Yeah, spoiler alert. The next grinding years will actually be about the MoonSwatch. I already started writing it. It will be about a specific issue related to the MoonSwatch, but also to a greater issue with some luxury watches, which is flipping. And the topic will be that I have second thoughts about not flipping the MoonSwatch, which is to say that I think in hindsight I should have. I should have sold it for 3,000 euros, on the day or the second day after I bought it. Uh-huh. And I was like, no, I'm holding on. I'm not going to support this industry of flipping because flipping is bad. No. But I will elaborate on this in the article, but it's completely different. I think to flip a Rolex, that people aspire for years or even decades to own, and then they are met with a super long wait list or the option to buy it, at double the price on the gray market. and a plastic watch that ultimately became available for everyone, easily without any waitlist or anything like that. And so the price hike there was basically just for those, a tax on those who wanted to rock the latest and greatest as far as they were concerned, or I should say the hottest watch. And, why not pay 10 times the price if someone's willing? So, yeah, this needs more fine print, but, it will get it in the article. As far as the MoonSwatch, and to answer your question, I've worn it maybe like twice since then, and it's so cheaply made that every time I just saw someone wear the Earth version yesterday, out and about, which is a version that I also have, and I was thinking to myself, like, why would you wear such a cheap, terrible thing on yourself? And I like the 75 Swiss franc, 80 Swiss franc, Swatch watches in this transparent plastic cases and plasticky straps and all the rest of it. Those are fun, but to spend 250, 300 Swiss francs on something that is so bad and wear it around probably all the time, it was just like, I certainly wouldn't do that. And so I don't wear my MoonSwatch.
Okay, well, if you keep an eye out on aBlogtoWatch for David's article where his moral compass finally slips and he enters the world of flipping. Right, watches in the news. Watches have been in the news a little bit. We'll start off with an article, I don't know if you've seen it, which is about an armed robbery in Paris. We've talked about robberies and the moving on of dodgy watches a few times in the last month or so. This is a £15 million or euro raid in Piaget. My first question is, if you were going to commit an armed robbery in a high-end boutique in Paris, why would you pick Piaget?
A lot of it has to do with location, getaway, security. I mean, it's not necessarily the most desirable brand. It's the brand that you can get away with. I didn't know you were so advanced in your plannings of escape routes. Have you got a secret second life as a getaway driver? I've chatted with the brands about this. Paris has seen numerous amounts of these break-ins. Geneva, a few. America's had some. This has been a big topic, and security and the practicality of doing this is a big part of it. Thieves, they steal from where they can break in and drive away.
I think a lot of what was probably stolen was jewelry from Piaget, as well as watches.
Yeah, they want the stones. There's Piaget has a lot of jewelry, especially in Paris, with massive stones, right?
I wonder whether we do need to revisit this topic of, people, you said last time, I think it was in last week's episode, Ariel, we were talking about how a number of people are stealing watches, not just to move on via pawn shops, etc., for cash, but actually using them as cash and swapping them in. This means these watches have to eventually be reaching the used market in some way, shape or form. So there has to be something going on. There has to be some sort of backdoor activity.
I doubt it.
You don't think so? You don't think that there's some nodding and winking going on somewhere along the line?
The priority is the goods that has market value, and all this has to be laundered or cleaned, disassembled, melted down. Obviously, it can't be resold as a bunch of Piaget stuff unless there's some, very wealthy buyer that they have some, relationship with, who still, for whatever reason, doesn't want to buy it retail. The watches and the branded things and the movements, that's probably used as currency within the criminal organization. They have to give gifts to people. The boss is like, oh, my wife is going to love this. Like, there's always going to be that type of use for them. But I think, as David brought up in the last show, it is doable, but it's not that easy to have, sell a watch on the open market. The serial numbers will get tracked and the police will get involved. They're increasingly taking this seriously. It just requires a human effort of wanting to check serial numbers and do this type of thing. That's really what's required. But I want to say one last thing about Piaget and why I don't feel too bad for them is, and this is sad but true, but this increases their brand desirability. Global headlines of thieves doing some type of very planned out operation to steal our treasures within a several block area with a lot of stores that have treasures. This makes Piaget look super in demand. And I'm sorry for whatever loss there is in insurance deductible, whatever, they feel real or not, they feel like there's a big boost in branding value for them.
David, what brand could do with a series of armed robberies in order to boost its brand viability?
What brand should do this? That's a good question.
What brand is going on Craigslist to try and find a group of incompetent armed robbers?
Basically, if you're a thief and you wanted to also have a moral element to what you're doing, what's the most charitable store that you can break into and and just plunder?
I'm thinking Invicta in Times Square better be watching out.
Really? That's what comes to mind. There's no little independent shop somewhere you have a real fondness for,
That's right. No, I'm not going to start naming people in specifically that I know in Glasgow to be the subject of armed robberies. David, did you have any further reaction to your article from last time on this whole area of watch theft?
Yeah, it's just that, I think, there seems to be this general consensus that more should be done. There's still lots of room for improvement. We have all this digitalization, interconnectedness, so we should be able to just type in a freaking serial number, which is, totally unique most of the time. It's not going to align with anything else in the world, and just, find whatever information there is. And for the world of cars, it exists. For the world of watches, it barely exists and barely functions. I think we can say it does not function. And overall traceability should be a thing in the world of watches, but at the same time, and it's fun, it's something interesting to think about how the world of secondhand watches and the market would, well, not collapse, but take a big hit where these watches be and these transactions be mandated to be traceable. The moment you couldn't move around $10, $50, $100,000 with transactions that are virtually impossible to trace, or to create Franken watches easily and sell them on auction to launder money, suddenly the whole market would be a whole lot less exciting for a whole lot of people, and it would be technically just us watch enthusiasts who would be buying these things, and we could all witness this market crumble the moment it was to be made impossible to just swap money around and just move money around easily without any sort of traceability. Sometimes, yes, with stolen goods.
Do you think there's a tax on the price of used watches due to the amount that's circulating? Like, do you think that if we could stop watches being used as currency like this, or the laundering side, or the theft, or just for some reason everyone got a moral compass and decided not to be robbing stuff, do you think you'd actually see a drop in the value of used watches? Do you think it actually impacts the prices?
Oh, it's not just theft. It's just the fact that watches are used to move money around. And it's technically a certain type of currency. The way it fluctuates. You all know how much of this is technically available. And you can just look at, like how many, submariners you can exchange for US dollars, in the same way how you look at how many euros you can exchange for US dollars. Technically, it's a currency for some people, and they don't care at all about the properties or the wearing experience of that watch. It's just currency. And if we could remove this, which I think traceability would certainly help do, then yes, I think, secondhand watch prices would drop considerably, especially on the hot selling watches. I'm not talking about watches that are selling 75% below retail into their 10 years into their history, but hot selling items like Deepatechs and Rolexes and APs of the world, for example.
Go back to David's article and by all means add some new comments on what you think about this whole area of how the dodginess in the watch world actually affects the prices for those who are trying not to be dodgy. CNN had an article, gentlemen. This was about a rainbow swatch watch in Malaysia. Wear it and you could face 3 years in jail. This is a particularly suspect government doing particularly suspect things. There might be good reasons why wearing a rainbow themed watch should result in a prison sentence. This is not one of those good reasons. But it just got me thinking, are there any examples? We've touched on the bad side of watches and people nicking them. Is there any other examples where the watch industry has actually moved the politics or cultural temperature of a society or a particular issue. This is obviously in relation to rainbow themed Swatch watch and the LGBTQ stuff, etc. in Malaysia that's, got some particularly suspect attitudes to all of this. You can go and check out the CNN article. But is there anything else within your experience, Ariel?
I mean, it depends how granular you want to get. I mean, you could say that from the political spectrum, wearing the wrong watch at the wrong time can really hurt a candidate, and conversely, wearing the right watch at the right time can help them. You see watches, in 2013, China basically eliminated the ability to use state money to buy watches as bribes for people. And this was a turning point in the in the growth of China for the watch industry, because it was a massive boom. People were using public money to buy luxury goods to give to other public workers to just get stuff done. And this was great for Switzerland, and they just kept increasing prices more and more and more because the more valuable the watch was, the better the bribe was, right? You got better favor. But then this came crashing down, so that had a huge effect. And of course, they weren't just buying watches; it was many, many goods. But watches were obviously a big enough deal that it really moved the watch industry. I mean, you have, of course, a lot of things, back in in the 20th century and things like that. But I'm thinking just sort of more modern era things. And then, of course, you have this proliferation of like watches being a symbol of luxury status. It took, like a few thousand people on Instagram to be like, I'm going to pretend to go buy a watch in a store, or I really am buying a watch in a store, and I'm so obnoxious that I'm filming the process. When that started becoming a thing, you saw the ritual of buying a watch as being indicative of having a certain amount of comfortable disposable income. And there was just few other things as obnoxious as going into a store and buying a gold watch or one with diamonds on it and being like, I'm bored. I'm going to go and spend a bunch of money on a watch. Maybe I'll get some ice cream afterwards. And it just became this strange cultural, phenomenon where like that was the ultimate decadent thing to do. A car, you have to sit there, do a bunch of paperwork and things like that. For a watch, you could get away with having a 3-minute video where you just plop down cash and take it away. And like, this became a weird thing, and this is going to have a lasting cultural effect as a watch having nothing to do with horology, but serving this very important symbol as a money status item, especially for men.
David, Eastern Europe and watch culture. Any particular political or social activity that is associated with watches, or?
Well, I mean, politicians are sometimes spotted wearing watches, but they are rarely on the news. Sometimes they are, and people with newfound wealth are sometimes also spotted wearing very expensive ones, and. But it's interesting because the reporting is usually off by, in terms of the value or whatever, and they say they have spoken to some experts and whatever, but it's usually wrong. They either get the model name and hence the price or wrong, or maybe they get the model right and yet get the price wrong. I've seen this happen a few times over the last few years, but it's not really on the map. There's so much else going on that it's rare to talk about, really. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, final thing is, on the one hand, slightly more serious because it was a bit of a faux pas, but the person involved seemed to take it particularly well. Glasgow has been the home, I don't know if any of you are into your cycling, but Glasgow has been the home of the combined World Cycling Championships over the past few weeks. Basically every cycling event you can think of, and some you didn't even know existed, have been having their World Championships here at the same time. And there was a particularly interesting, I sent you the picture, Spanish paracyclist. The event was sponsored by Tissot, and it meant that everybody got a Tissot watch, who also got a gold medal. And this led to a particularly awkward photograph from a winner, Ricardo Ten Arguelles, who had both of his arms amputated as a youngster, so being presented with a wristwatch attracted a certain amount of attention from Tissot. He seemed to take it very well in terms of realising that this was clearly ridiculous. I've not seen a photograph of the person who presented the watch, but it's worth tracking this down on Instagram to see this. So this goes down as this year's. If we're going to do end of year awards, then this goes down as the end of year marketing faux pas, or the unintended consequence.
You gotta
award
feel bad for
goes to Tissot.
Tissot is really the victim here.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one as to. Yes, somebody in Tissot marketing's sitting there bagging their head off of a desk.
No. This is just a manifestation of the rule that you can't please everyone. There's nobody was wrong here, but it was just two pieces that didn't fit. There's very few things you can give as a prize that would fit every human being possible. It just doesn't work. I'm not sure. Tissot don't make pocket watches or anything, do they? There's nothing Tissot make that they could have given a guy who, unfortunately, through being electrocuted as a young lad There's
of 8.
Plenty of stuff that they could give him. Plenty of stuff. They'll figure it out. They'll do something. It's not like they knew he was going to win that day. Do
you think you get the receipt when you get prizes like this?
No, you get someone from Tissot saying, "We're going to sort you out. Don't worry."
Yeah, sorry, out. Okay, no. So go and check that out. That definitely wins a prize somewhere in the marketing awards.
It's a wonderful it's manifestation of nature saying, "Here's some free comedy. No one has to write this. We're going to give it to you." David shared this picture. It is the guy again seems to be in good spirits, but this is an internet meme waiting to happen, right?
Oh yeah, this is going to. We're going to be seeing this. We're going to be seeing this for years. This is going to feature in top 10 lists. It's going to feature. This is not going to die. Tissot are going to be living off of this marketing faux pas for a number of years. In fact, probably for the rest of recorded time.
It's just like giving this guy a watch as a prize, right?
I've done it for a while. Guess the price of the Seiko. Seiko SJE 095. The limited edition King Seiko.
King Seiko?
King Seiko. I thought the whole King Seiko thing was supposed to be a one-off, but they're now seriously leaning into this.
What category is this supposed to fill? I have no idea.
Well, I'm not sure that they do either, but this is the SJ.
This is more expensive than Presage, right?
Well, it's a limited edition of 600.
Oh, God.
The dial is inspired by the chrysanthemum. I wonder whether King Seiko is inspired by flowers and Grand Seiko is inspired by views. I wonder if that's the thing. Maybe not, because it's birch trees. That doesn't count either. Anyway, it's got a chrysanthemum on it. The SJE 095 stainless steel. It's a caliber 6L35. It is 19mm lugs. Oh, hold on, I've got a dog crying in. Hello, Brora. Yes, just you sit there. It's a dog making a noise in the background. It is SJA 095, 600 pieces. Anything else you need to know, gentlemen, before you have a guess at the price?
This comes on a bracelet?
It comes on a bracelet and a strap. I think you
both?
can buy in either.
Wait,
yes, but there's
does
only
it come
the
with
price.
Both, or?
I think it must come with both.
Seiko does charge a lot for two straps.
Price.
Oddly, they charge a huge amount. Like, if you're going to get a Seiko 2 straps, that's a special damn Seiko.
It's a King
limited
Seiko.
edition of a limited edition.
I don't know. I'm going to say 3,000. These have been going crazy high.
Okay, so $3,000 from Ariel. David, higher or lower than $3,000?
Lower. I'm going to say 2,600.
Okay, you'll be pleased to know the actual price is $3,400.
Oh my God, I was low.
So Ariel, you were low. David, I don't think you've even got the money to go into the shop. You could probably buy the version with one strap, but not with both the strap and the bracelet.
You know what
for
David
that price.
needs? David needs a new product. It's going to be Grand Seiko Jr.
Grand Seiko Jr. Oh, don't even
Seiko.
mention that.
A medium Seiko. Grand medium Seiko.
No, you already have Grand. You already have King. You can't go down from that. What are you supposed to say? Like Deputy Seiko?
Yeah. Seiko. King Deputy.
Lieutenant Seiko. Yes, it's $3,500 for a 38 mil watch.
Seiko.
I mean,
so
Edson Seiko. Anyway, so going. I mean, to be fair, it's a nice looking watch. But just because it's nice looking, I don't know why anyone would buy it.
Well, let me ask you a question. Other than chrysanthemums, is there an explanation as to who Seiko envisions wearing this, other than chrysanthemum kings?
The chrysanthemum king is. You think there's some drug kingpin that grows chrysanthemums?
Maybe
can
not
you make a drug from
600
chrysanthemums? Yeah. Do you think they'll ever? Do you think? And this is a topic for another day. But see brands that say they've got a limited edition of 600 as a percentage. How many brands that say they're making a limited edition run ever make all the numbers of the limited edition run?
Not that many. It's a surprisingly low amount, because people think like 600. They're going to make them all at once, right? Whoa, hold your horses there.
I reckon less than 30% of the brands that name a number that they're actually going to make ever get close to making that number. I think
they would actually prefer that people knew the actual amount. It's even lower.
Yeah, true. Anyway, go and check out this King Seiko. You can give us your opinion in the chat. Ariel, a bit more of a realistic watch. You are travelling at the moment. I don't think it's with G-Shock that you're with, but this is certainly a watch suitable for the deserts of Utah that you're in, that you reviewed, the Casio G-Shock Mudman. Although if it's a Mudman, it's quite dry where you're going, so maybe a Mudman's not the most suitable. But this is certainly in the cheaper bracket.
Dust and mud. Yeah.
The GW 9500. Give us the lowdown on this. Why should I be interested in yet another G-Shock?
This is a pretty decent G-Shock, and I don't always understand what Casio is thinking with each of these. I will admit, I have to look at the watch and be like, what were they thinking at? I look at the price point.
You know, for journalists, we don't understand quite a lot really about these brands, do we? We've just said we have no idea what Seiko are thinking of. We have no idea what G-Shock are
Every
thinking.
good journalist has to figure it out on their own. That's what makes them good at what they do. So this one is, numerically speaking, the successor to the GW 9400, which came out nearly 10 years ago and was a great timepiece. Why was it great? It looked cool. And it was the first G-Shock to incorporate the sort of triple sensor ABC technology that until then you really only had in Pro Trek. And now that's in a lot more G-Shocks. And since then, the Rangeman name, which was the GW 9400, went in a different direction. And now the Mudman name has come in where the Rangeman name, left off. And the watch adds a couple of features, not too many. It adds a duplex LCD, which is another thing borrowed from Pro Trek. So you see more of a merger between the two. And that is a feature that is mainly useful during the compass function. And it's, again, super cool, a really cool feature. Hasn't been changed at all. And this is something which is far more than a decade old, this particular complication with the duplex LCD. So I don't really think that itself is sort of a star new feature. And this is a decidedly basic movement. It is for people who are more familiar with sort of the legacy G-Shock operating system. They know how to use it. This is not the more advanced, newer generation operating system or even system with Bluetooth. So what they've done is they've made an incremental upgrade to the Rangeman, fixed some things, made a pretty good, very legible, all-digital watch. It's big. Moved it to the Mudman family. It's priced at under $400, so that means that on the sort of street price will be even lower. So it's a decent value, but it's still not that much of an upgrade from the original Rangeman. And some people say it's not as good looking, and I think the original GW 9400 Rangeman was a great looking timepiece from Casio. It was great, and this one's not bad at all. But it looks a little bit more like your big digital watch. So as a tool watch, it's great. But for someone like me, who's now so invested in Casio's latest generation of operating systems and technologies and Bluetooth, it doesn't speak to me as much as some of the other products. So I like for what it is. And there's a lot of people out there that just want your sort of good old-fashioned Casio and want that sort of merger. So it is a bit of a compromise product. But it is nevertheless quite a good one.
My question always about G-Shocks is how intuitive are they to use? Like, can you wear this watch without having worn it for several weeks and remember how to use the functions? Or is it, I'm going to need to look up and Google the operating system again because I can't remember how to start the timer?
Most of the things you'll know how to do. There'll be little things here and there you'll be confused about. But I'd say like easily 85% of the functionality you should be able to intuit pretty easily. Casio's always been very strong in intuitiveness. Let's contrast it with one of their rivals now, which is Garmin. And Garmin is about as unintuitive as it gets. I mean, I guess if you sort of figure out how it works, makes sense. But there's like hidden menus and finickiness and like just buried things you have to search within here. So I would say that Casio, and this is actually quite similar for a lot of Japanese software, when it's successful, it really does feel quite intuitive and well done.
Great stuff. David, brief thoughts on this G-Shock? Is it the sort of G-Shock you would wear, or is it just a bit of a bruiser?
Yeah, it's a bit much in terms of size and stuff. I mean, if you need the functionality of this particular reference, then sure, knock yourself out. And these are usually really, really big in terms of like external dimensions, and yet they are comfortable in the sense that they wrap around the wrist, even like a narrower wrist like mine or Ariel's. It's still going to be really comfortable.
And they're lightweight.
Yeah, and they are light too. I enjoy that they are durable. I like durable stuff that I can forget about and have it like scuffed up and beat up and it's still working as intended. It's just so that's cool. It's not too expensive at $380. So yeah, I think it's great that these exist. These are super cool products. I probably wouldn't go for this particular arrangement, but the arrangement collection as a whole is fantastically impressive for a lot of reasons.
Great stuff. Well, we're on a bit of a large watch binge this morning, so after that particular G-Shock, we move on to the Breitling Navitimer B01 Chronograph, a 46mm US-only limited edition. And probably the main takeaway from this, other than the size, is the fact that this is a two-tone watch, which, as I understand it, Breitling don't do in any other Navitimer other than this one. Why do we think Sylvain had the bright idea of, because it will have been Sylvain's idea, of only producing a two-tone watch in such a gargantuan size, or is this just a sign of things to come? I love this watch, by the way. I'm just Navitimer is just where it's at for me. You can take your Submariners, you can take your 5711s and all these watch designs that are very well known and all the rest of it. But to me, if you ask me what I think of when I think of a watch, I think of a Navitimer first. I think that was just the windows of my youth were decorated with Navitimers. They were the most shiny ones in the shop, so it's what I always think of as a classic watch. But what do you guys think of this?
I think it's a great looking color combination. It's fantastically elegant despite being 4-6. It wears its size really well. I quite like this. I like the AOPA dial. The logo on the dial, with the little wings. It's just a cool presentation. It's a very masculine watch. If that's something we're still allowed to say, it is a masculine, manly looking watch, which is very cool. It's 11,900, which is actually not that much once you consider that it's still Daytona is like 16 grand, and this is a bit of gold in it. And Breitling tends to charge an arm and a leg for even the tiniest bit of gold in its watches. So yeah, I think this is a really good one. I look forward to more two-tone Navitimers. There were some with steel cases and bracelets and whatnot with some golden dial components. So we have seen those, but technically that does not amount for a true two-tone. So yeah, more of this, please.
Ariel, you want some more of this?
Yeah, I'm not against it. You were trying to like build it up like, why would Breitling make this horrible watch that I want to buy?
Absolutely, it's not horrible. It's definitely not horrible. I just
this isn't the
surprised.
Breitling that a lot of people are asking for right now.
No, I was surprised when I read the article that this was the first time Breitling had done this in terms of a two-tone. I just assumed that they did. I just never seen one.
I've seen two-tones before. I don't know that that's true. Maybe in this generation, that's
In
possible.
current
That's
selection,
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, in this current generation, that's definitely true. But yeah, I mean,
Okay.
this is exactly what certain parts of the American market wants. They like the practicality of two-tone because it gives some gold without having to have a whole full gold watch, which is, it's just too much gold, sometimes too much money. Americans like this size. There's a certain type of guy out there that just loves this look. As you all agree, it's a handsome watch. For us watch enthusiasts, it does absolutely nothing new. So yeah, it's not something we're going to be like, oh my God, I can't wait to have one of those. But like, it's a nice watch. And this is just full on traditionally what has done well for Breitling in this market, just a slightly newer version of it.
We have two GMTs, and I'd like to kind of handle them both together and compare and contrast, because it's from two very different brands at different periods of their kind of brand building. But one is twice the price of the other, nearly. So we have the Norcane Neverest GMT Glacier Grey and Gold, and we have the Longines Hydroconquest GMT. Now, I think my first question to you both is, which would you, if it was your own money you were spending, would you buy the Norcane or would you buy the Longines? David?
I'm not sure about Norcane as a brand just yet. I haven't had, too many meaningful interactions others in the team have, so I'm still very much in the process of making my mind up about Norcane and, where it stands and how it's going to hold up. It's difficult to tell. It's it's a tried and true recipe. It's an all steel watch with what appears to be a ceramic bezel insert with some gold elements, cool dial, but it's not cheap. It's like $4,000 and up from there. Maybe Aria can shine a bit of light on Norcane for me.
Yeah, these are both great brands. I mean, between the two models you reference, it's just going to go between the model I like. I happen to like this Longines watch a lot. I've seen it, and I've played with it. It feels great. It's a really nice watch. This is a great GMT movement. As a watch lover, it's just like it gives you a lot more wow, and it's something that like makes you smile a lot. It's got this kind of green dial. It's just cool. Norcane is a brand that is equally capable in a lot of ways, even though it's a much newer brand of doing cool stuff. This is part of their Neverest collection with this interesting kind of dial. This wouldn't be the aesthetic version for me. Plus, the Neverest is a 40 millimeter wide watch, and for me, Norcane, their sweet spot is like the 42, 43 millimeter case size that they do, which I like a lot. So this is a great piece, but this is a little bit less of an original piece for the brand. This is them trying to be more marketable. And again, there's a market for this. Absolutely. People like this type of thing. But when you're looking for the originality and some of the more brand distinction that they can offer, it's not necessarily in this kind of piece.
Yeah. Are we seeing a change in Norcane? I kind of viewed them as being a little bit cutting edge. I mean, in as much as you can be cutting edge with a mechanical watch at this kind of price point, but of doing things slightly differently. Are they now just starting to resemble, as indeed we're pointing out with this Longines, just doing what everybody else is doing? Like, the Norcaniness of the watch is decreasing as the looks like everything else factor, or is just one of a number of options factor increases? Are they becoming less adventurous?
Look, I hear what you're saying, but the reality is, from an economic standpoint, just doing the cool stuff you want to do, unless you have, huge prices, or you're hugely lucky, or you just don't need to make the money, that's not economically viable. I had this precise discussion with Norcane, and it's a very simple concept to understand. While they want to do just crazy stuff, they have to make watches that the retailers are going to buy. Remember, this is a company that you can buy their website, I believe. Their retailers is their support system. That's how they want to sell, through the retailers, and that's not a bad model. So the retailers are like, I could sell this size, this price, this material. Could you make me something? They hear that enough times, and they're like, okay, so in order to get the retailers to buy the crazy stuff we like the Wild One, we need to make things that they feel they can sell more immediately, and they know that. So it turns into a compromise with the brands, and they sell what the market wants, and then they try to push in something cool and new and artistic and interesting as often as they can. And that tends to be what happens. So we need to understand these economics and be forgiving. But as you're doing, be skeptical at times and be like, okay, Norcane, but for someone like me that sees you as an innovation brand, this is not that innovative. And maybe they're like, okay, thanks for the feedback.
I mean, I absolutely hear what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying. I just think that then doing that, but charging twice as much as a brand like Longines, okay, it's not quite twice as much, but having such a premium on the price doesn't then allow that this is our version of the thing that everybody wants to filter through, because it's got a premium of $1,500 on it. I mean, I'm such a big fan of the Hydroconquest. It's one of these watches I've almost bought so many times. There's a really nice one for the Commonwealth Games that was in Birmingham a few years ago that I keep on trying on. So I would hands down go for the Longines in this particular watch battle. I just wonder how, maybe it is, Norcane does have a personality with the ownership and the social media content that Longines doesn't have, despite the fact it's a huge brand. So maybe it relies a bit more on the watch geek culture, identifying what's a Norcane, and that geekiness, if you like, can afford a little bit of a price premium over the likes of Longines.
Well,
but we'll go. So David, after hearing both those things, Norcane or Longines?
Well, Norcane does not have the economy of scale that Longines has as being part of the Swatch group. So I think, part of the reason why it's more expensive is also that. High development cost. The Hydroconquest has been around for some time. It can lean on Swatch group efficiency when it comes to manufacturing, making cases, bracelets, movements, dials, all the rest of it. Norcane does not have that luxury, and a lot, at least some of that premium is going towards that. And myself as a customer, I'm not sure why I should be valuing that. People can decide if they like the design and want to go with a premium, but it's not an excuse. It's just an explanation.
Well, go and check out both the articles, and we will stick a poll on the Spotify platform, and you can tell us which you would choose if you were spending your own money. It'd be interesting to know if you were spending your own money versus spending somebody else's money, whether that would make a difference in which one you chose. We have a few minutes left, so we're going to have a quick round of Hit Miss Maybe. So first up, a new release from Oris, leaning into the Aquis some more, the Aquis Dat Watch Limited Edition 2 watch, which does seem to be a strange title, but it is what it is. Gentlemen, Hit Miss Maybe on another limited run from Oris?
For me, it's a maybe. It's just a standard Oris. They've done a little bit something different here, a little bit something different there. Glad it exists. People will buy it. Reinforces the fact that the Aquis, to me, is the best thing that they have in their collection. I guess I lament the fact that the prices have gone up as much as they have for the Aquises. I haven't seen the price on this one. What's the price on this one?
$3,200.
Yeah,
so not cheap.
I got really excited about the Aquis when it was just over $2,000. Now it's still a cool collection. I guess I would say this: everybody probably should have at least one Aquis in their collection. Does it have to be this one? That's entirely up to how you feel about Dot Watt.
Dot Watt. David, do you love Dot Watt?
I quite like this one. Yes, I like. It's a hit for me because it appears to have a color transition dial. I'm not sure if that's the pictures or not, but it looks like it goes from the steel or like turquoise to dark green, which is very cool. I like the indices. I like the proportions on the dial. These are a bit clunky sometimes in the wrist. The size has to be right. But yeah, I quite like the concept here. So yeah, it's a hit for me.
Good stuff. Yeah, at the end of the day, I'm a big fan of this watch. It's a hit for me. 43.5 mil. You can't go wrong. Proper big dive watch. There we go. Right. Hublot Big Bang Unico Sky Blue Ceramic Watch. Hit Miss Maybe, David. Do we like a bit of sky baby blue Big Bang Unico action?
No. I would feel just so because it's just not. I like a loud Hublot, but this is not the one that I would want to be seen wearing. I very rarely care about what a watch says about me, and I like all kinds of colorful watches, but this is just a little bit too much of a hedge fund baby kind of watch for me. So yeah, it's a pass for me.
Ariel, you selling all your shares in your hedge fund to buy this? Hit miss maybe in this Hublot?
From a design perspective, for me, it's a hit. It's entirely up to personal preference how this light blue and white theme go together. I happen to like it. It speaks to me. These are not particularly inexpensive watches. I'm trying to determine here as I'm speaking.
$23,000.
Okay, that's about what these tend to cost. I mean, again, it's a luxury sports style watch. If you have a bunch of Big Bangs, like you Big Bang Unicos, like got to get another one. No, but I think that it's definitely a fun piece, and I think that the people who will get it already like the Big Bang Unico, and for them, they just got to have this color, and it's a fashion statement. That's really what it is.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really like this. It's a hit. Every time I look at this, I go, I shouldn't like this. I shouldn't like this. I shouldn't like this. But I really do. So maybe I'm just more of a hedge fund manager than I think I am.
Where does this? Is it like the hedge fund watch? Where's this coming from?
I don't know. I don't know why David thinks it's a hedge fund.
Is the color of swimming pools? Is that what hedge fund people do?
Color of Mediterranean yachts.
I think I should have said trust fund baby. Sorry, it's just too early in the morning. So it's like a trust fund baby kind of watch. Like you get off your dad's boat and do some shopping and whatever, and then get back on it. That's the message here. I like a loud Hublot, but this one is just like too preposterous for me.
I think what David's saying, there's certain people who can afford to have like expensive watches for every whim color, or that they may want to have like a watch for this occasion when I happen to wear these two colors 2 or 3 times a year. $25,000, not a problem. And that is not a particularly judicious way of spending luxury watch money.
No, maybe I'm going off it slightly because it is expensive for what it is. But there we go. Right, finally, we will look at another Hanhart. We've looked at a few of these in recent months. This is the Hanhart Pioneer Silva. It's a bit of an unusual, has a kind of mundane vibe to it, I think. But what do you guys think? Ariel, hit miss maybe on this Hanhart.
Oh yeah, this is just like the German minimalist watch. This is like this, the Japanese have their like business guy watches. They have certain designs. They're like, that's the business guy watch. This is one of Germany's business guy watches. So it's handsome. There is nothing fresh about this design, but I guess Hanhart was like, you know what? We haven't made one of these in a while. And that's true, but this has like been a mainstay of German design. It has these needle-style hands, which are great. Honestly, they are, especially how it's done here with the high contrast. And that's usually where this type of dial fails, is with the contrast. The elegant use of the alternating marker and Arabic numeral hour markers, relatively large amount of space on the dial. It's very calm, easy to read these types of things. It's not for everyone. It's not something you want to wear every single day. But it is, and again, they probably do a good job here. What did these cost? Probably about 1,000 or something?
Yeah, no, €890. So yeah, $1,000 probably by the time it gets over to you. I really like this. And again, it's a bit like the last Hublot. I really shouldn't because it's tiny. But you see, for £800, this is not a bad shout. This is like 2.5 MoonSwatches, but this is going to give you pleasure for a lot longer than a MoonSwatch.
With real steel.
With real steel, and not only should I not like it, it also shouldn't work, but it really does. It does have that mundane, classic German minimalist, but actually is both minimal, but with something to say. It's not like a Nomos that just is minimal, but I just often feel doesn't really say anything. This actually does seem to have some attitude to it.
It's the Hanhart logo. I mean, if you took that off, you'd be like, oh God. But like adding that on there with its sort of cursive style. It's just enough. They were clever to come out with this. I think this is one of those sleeper hits. It's not like people are going to like buy this so much they're going to sell out, but I think consistently over time, if this is maintained in the collection, like there'll always be buyers for something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. David, hit miss maybe?
Not for me, but if I saw, someone wearing this, I would be like, that's chosen in good taste. It looks a funky little watch, a variable size, a reasonable price. Quite like this one actually as an offer.
Yeah. Be interesting to see it in gold. Be interesting as a little minimalist gold watch, but there we go. So go and look at Hanhart. Check out this watch. Let us know what you think. You can always get in touch with the show podcast at aBlogtoWatch.com. You can find me at Rick TikTok on Instagram. Ariel, where can we find you on Instagram?
Ariel to watch on Instagram, articles on aBlogtoWatch.com, and in addition to Blog to Watch Weekly, this is Perla podcast.
Excellent. And David, you've already said it, but say it again. Where can everybody slide into your DMs this week?
I'm receiving get well soon messages on their ABTW_David.
Nice.
Excellent. And you can also check out the TikTok channel for a blog to watch and get involved in TikTok. Down with the kids and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It does strike me that TikTok should really be the home of watch content with a name like TikTok, but that's just my thinking. Anyway, go check that out. If you've got a TikTok account, go and hunt out a blog to watch and all the things there. Other than that, have a great week. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks,
Goodbye.
everyone.
Have a good one. Talk soon. Bye bye.